Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Raise.dev Hacktoberfest Help Desk. My name is Joe, and this is actually our first show of the day today, and our last, our only show of the day. For those of you who are new here, the Hacktoberfest Help Desk is your resource to get help during Hacktoberfest. We'll be giving you tips and tricks for making and landing great pull requests to projects that you're interested in. And if you haven't found a project yet, we'll also be showing off some really nice projects and hopefully helping you find a new one, which is what we're going to be doing today with our special guests, who I believe there is a bunch of their community already in the chat, but I'll be bringing them on very shortly. But before that, just a couple of things to run through. So first up, for those of you in chat, you are welcome to ask questions anytime throughout the stream. We will try and answer them as we go, and if we don't answer them as we go, we'll do it before the end of the show. If you want to post links to anything you're working on or anything that's related to what we're talking about, you are very welcome to post links, but please at Raise Devs in the chat and give me a warning before you post links, because we have a moderation bot that will ban you if you post a link. Well, we'll time you out for 5 seconds if you post a link. So if you give me a warning, I can permit you to post links, and that way no one gets auto timed out, which would be lovely. So other than that, a couple of things to note. If you want to submit a question to the Hacktoberfest Help Desk, you're welcome to ask in chat anytime. Thank you, NH Carrigan, for demonstrating our mod bot in action. That is how you get yourself banned. If you want to ask a question, you can drop it in chat anytime. If you want to submit a question in advance, we've still got 10 days of Hacktoberfest left, so you can drop us a question at raise.dev Hacktoberfest, and we'll review it, answer it here on the show, and send you the recording right after if your question's answered. Our schedule for the week is now live at twitch.tv RaiseDev schedule, so you can find all the great guests that we've got coming up this week. We've got a really packed week with some fantastic projects. At the end of the show, stick around. I'll do a little bit of a teaser of what we've got coming the rest of the week, or you can find it there. And then finally from me, if you're trying to level up your developer career, whether it's trying to get your first developer job after training, bootcamp, self-teaching, whatever it is, or you're trying to get promotion or change careers, Raise.dev is here to help you. We'll match you with one of our expert coaches who will, bloody hell, 110 people. Hello, everyone. We'll match you one of our expert coaches who will help you towards a project or goal that you're working on, and they'll work with you throughout your time working towards that next job, that next promotion, whatever it is. You can find more information at raise.dev and sign up for free whilst you're in early access. So, loads of new people in the chat. For those of you who are in the chat, please ask questions as we go along. If you want to post a URL or a link in the chat, our mod bot will auto time you out. If you want to post a link, that's fine. Just at RaiseDevs, mention me, and I will permit you to post links. So let me bring on our guests, because you're obviously all here for them. Please welcome Anand and Dane to the show. Hey, folks, how you doing?
Just a few people.
Yeah, that lower third is covering Dane up. I got to remove that. So, welcome. Thanks for breaking our stream with your Discord.
I posted in Discord and the floodgates open.
Nice. For all 12 people in the chat who don't know who you are, would you like to introduce yourselves?
You can go first, Dane.
I'm Dane. I'm the, I guess, what would I call myself? Dictator in charge of Pterodactyl. I created it back in 2015 and been running it since.
Wonderful. And Anand?
I'm Anand. I work on Pterodactyl with Dane. Been working on it for how long? Like a year and a half? 2 years? Something like that. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Cool. So, Anand, you were with us last week for another show where we grilled you on your whole dev background. And Dane, we're going to spare you that today because I think we're going to get a lot of that in on the history of the project. So I believe, just to tell folks what we've got in store, we're going to talk a little bit, which one is Dane? We're going to talk a little bit about the history of the project and about Pterodactyl, and we're going to dive into Pterodactyl itself. I believe we're going to see a live installation. We're going to see how to use Pterodactyl, and then we're also going to talk towards the end about contributing to Pterodactyl. So, I imagine some of these folks in the chat have already done that, or are looking to do that, or maybe you're struggling to install Pterodactyl. I believe Anand's got you covered. There will be a stream one replay, Still Wonders. So, should we get started? Dane, do you want to tell us a little bit about the history of Pterodactyl and why it was created and what you were trying to do at the time?
It's been a while. So I guess technically Pterodactyl started probably 2012, 2013. It was actually under a totally different name. I was working with someone, they were starting a new Minecraft host. They hated every solution out there, which doesn't surprise me. There's really not that many great ones that existed.
Right.
So I started working on it on the side. 2013, 2015, it was actually under a totally different project. For personal reasons, end of 2015, I basically forked it and kind of just took my work and went with that. Left them to keep working on it. So Pterodactyl like proper started in 2015, and
Right.
my goal at that point was really like, okay, there's not that many great solutions out there. There's definitely
Right.
no like free solutions that are gonna get like anywhere close to like what these paid solutions have. And also at the time, like Docker was kind of a new buzzword floating around the internet. And I was like, well, that seems like a great way to run a server and like avoid polluting the host system. I don't really have to understand how like to do security good. I can let Docker handle like the 90% of it. So that's really where it started. And then kind of from there, it was a small community and it just kind of kept going and going. I think like one day in 2017, it made it to the front page of Hacker News. And that's kind of when it just like took off. And
that's a scary moment for everyone.
Yeah, that's also when I discovered there's a lot of people that just like really hate PHP for no good reason. And like it's really fun to just see that Hacker News crowd like just hate on you for no reason other than they don't like the language it's in.
That's actually how I think I found it, because someone else on the team said I've been in the Discord for 3 years, so that sounds like that was how I found it.
Nice. Yeah. Awesome.
So that's kind of how it started, and then like it's just kind of kept itself going at this point. The community is kind of like past that critical mass of like there's always people online, there's always people talking. Like it's kind of
I can see from
yeah, so yeah.
277, wow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So
I've had to call in extra moderators. That is what you've done to me this evening.
Yeah, it's okay. I like 2 weeks ago when we did our 1.0 release, I was like, oh, I'll just put this voice channel here and sit in it. It was like maybe 20 people, and I've never heard so many Discord like user joined pings in the same like 5-second span as I did that day. But
well, you seem like you've got a super lovely community. There's there's a bunch of great questions. Someone saying, just want to say a massive thanks to everyone involved in Pterodactyl's development. It seemed like a really lovely little community built around this.
It's you kind of get the nice like a lot of people are really thankful, a lot of people are really not thankful, like but overall it's like generally a really positive community, and everyone's kind of like, I've heard some really like wonderful stories from people that are like, I never would have been able to grow my business without this, and like
that's awesome.
It's like they're entry to learning how to program and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I mean, there's definitely my experience with like this category of software that it's like almost like dominated by kind of like cPanel-esque players, and all the options are really terrible. So I imagine
they've all got that same like icon set, and I don't know what it is.
But... and there must definitely be like some big proprietary system out there that is just like the in-demand default one that has obviously been raking in the money. So it's nice to see an open source solution that's aimed at addressing that problem.
Because there's a few other open source solutions, but they don't like, they're either very specific to like a certain game, or they're just like from 3 or 4 years ago and haven't been updated, so they don't really work anymore.
Right. Cool.
And so
someone just asked.
Was like the only one I could find that really was fully open source and let you actually use any game and easy to deploy. Some people, it's under debate if it's easy to deploy or not. We'll see in a little bit.
Someone said they couldn't tell who was who, and I do have a way to turn on usernames and can't find it. I will fix that for you, viewers. But for now,
that's not me.
I'm me, and he is.
I'm me.
Oh dear. Anyway, so
I should have gotten a little cardboard crown to put on my head, like I have in Discord.
We do have usernames. I just don't know why they're not coming up. What have you got?
Everyone knows I like to be ridiculous, so.
Oh, excellent. There we go. Okay. Anand's the one with the Minecraft glasses. Very appropriate.
Deal with it glasses. What do you mean
Minecraft? Deal with it glasses? Look, man, I'm poking around in settings trying to figure out how to put your name underneath you. I'm not concentrating. Anyway, let's get into the project itself. So you've given us a little bit of the history, and I thought the entire thing was PHP. So I just asked you about this rewrite that you were working on. I was very surprised to find that this is like a multi-layered sandwich of technologies going on here. Do you want to tell us a little bit about like how this thing is made? And because I imagine it's not. I imagine you must be interacting with parts like you've got a web. You've got a web admin panel, but I imagine you must also be getting quite low level in terms of the management stuff. So there must be a lot of different moving parts going on here.
Yeah, so oh god, there's a lot of moving parts here. Let's see. Yeah, so initially, I guess when you're looking at it at just like a high level glance, you've just got like a web panel, right? Like I click buttons, things happen, and to like 90% of the users, that backend magic is not like anything relevant to them.
Right.
But so for the panel, like the front end view, that is built with React, so that's all. At least for clients, it's all like a single page app, so they can just kind of switch between things. It's very fluid. The goal there was just like tired of refreshing pages. React's kind of like the hot new thing in 2020. Like, let's just make this easy so that we can build out like really complicated features in the future without also having to drag along like really complicated and horrendous like JavaScript magic to make that work. So the front end's all React through the panel. And then you get into like the actual software that runs the games, and that's really where the meat of Pterodactyl lies. And I think that's one of its like the front end itself, the design is kind of like 50% of why people choose it. The software that powers it is probably the other 50% to a lot of people.
Right.
And so for the last 4 years, well, 5 years basically at this point, that was all Node.js. So at the time, back in 2015, that was like the only server-side language I knew other than PHP. And I was smart enough to know, like, I'm not going to write this in PHP to run servers because I will just never live that down, and that's dumb. And I've seen people do that, and I'm just like, why? Why would you write a Minecraft clone in PHP?
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother topic, right? And so it was Node.js. That actually worked like surprisingly well, relatively for that was back before like promises were a big thing. So it's got like your waterfall callback hell, as it's known, where like if and you've got like when you've got a triangle in your code, like you know there's probably a problem. But surprisingly, that actually worked. I just can't read that code anymore, so I can't really maintain it, and that's what led into like 2017. I was like, I should probably like fix this, but I don't want to do it in Node. And at that point, Go was the popular new thing. One of our other like developers that's been helping out. Oh god, I'm gonna butcher this name. Shredge. That's just what I've never learned how to say his name. But he was like, let's do this in Go, and kind of got that started. And then it actually just kind of sat there for a long time. I didn't really have the motivation at the time. I was busy in the summers. I didn't have like. That's one of those things that you really just need to sit down and like. Okay, I'm going to program for like a couple days straight, and like something will pop out of that.
Just casual full rewrite.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like I don't enjoy the like nothing works and there's no clear concept to this type of programming, which is usually what the start of those projects is, where it's like you got to get to something that runs so that you can then build off of that. So that was how that started. That just kind of sat, and then one day I was just like, let's try this. Like I have exams coming up, and like I need to procrastinate. Like let's just keep working on this. And
we
kind
have
of
names.
like, oh sweet,
Sorry.
thank God. So that just kind of took off one day, and then from there it's kind of just been history. So that was like probably a year and a half of just like programming and like making plenty of mistakes and having people be like, that's a really stupid way to write that. And I was like, well, no one told me, and so we're stuck with that. And then here we are today with like we've got a Go backend that compiles down into one like small binary rather than this Node.js spaghetti pile that you have to run npm install, and like that led to its whole like, oh, I have thousands of dependencies showing like severe vulnerabilities that I can't fix.
Or people would install like the wrong Node version.
Yeah,
and it wouldn't work. Or...
there was a package like immagic that was supposed to do like file type stuff, and that was probably the bane of my existence and did not work for so many people for so many unknown reasons.
Interesting.
And whereas with Go now, like we've had, I'm going to curse myself by saying this, but like we've had no issues with people installing it. It's really more of like, it's really more of their like server setup itself that's problematic, which is a lot easier to like point someone to Google and be like, you can just Google that error message, and like there's tons of resources on how to solve it, versus these like very specific, like I'm running npm install and it's giving me this like obscure stack trace that I've never had to read before, and I don't understand like how to fix this. Or things that I'm like, I don't understand what that error is, so I don't know how to help you fix it.
Yeah, that makes
But
sense.
in general, that there's like the front end, the back end, and they talk to each other through like a little bit of magic, but overall it's like kind of just a private HTTP API that's going on with some like WebSockets for real time.
Okay, awesome.
It also uses like way less resources on the system, and like just is cleaner for a server that's meant to just be running these containers. Like now we don't have this crazy daemon with like node and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Running.
It's like a
It's
good
just
example
way
of
more
that was
simple
like
by
2 years ago when I guess my first real foray into Go was like our SFTP server that is all custom built. It was written in Node.js, which if you've never done that, never do it. It's my only never write an SFTP server in Node.js. It's just not meant for that. But it like
Anand, your mic is super quiet. Can you pump it if you can?
Yeah, let me see. I don't
but
know.
like
Is there
the
a way to do
SFTP
that on the
server
StreamYard thing or not?
No, I
bet
can't
I
touch your
can't.
sound, unfortunately. So that's
it's
on
under
your
can
end.
mic probably.
Yeah, there's no levels in StreamYard.
We're working on it, folks.
Let's see.
You can have.
He's not
you can have
important
permission to
anyways.
post links to Shadowlancer. Shadowlancer, you've got a minute to post links. Go.
Oh, he's also one of the other
Can you just
admins
give
on the
him,
project.
like, can you just give him like permission?
I can give VIP for the stream.
Yeah.
He's
He's legit.
He's part of the team.
We're running out of VIP slots. Shadowlancer, I think you're going to take our last one.
Ooh, nice.
Hey, it's VIP 10. There you go. Congratulations, Shadowlancer.
But
so yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, so the SFTP server was like a total nightmare, super slow. There were hosts with like 500 servers on a node, which is not how I ever envisioned a host running it, but that's their own problem to deal with. But when you have 500 people trying to move files around using Node.js, you run into a lot of resource issues. Or like you can just crash the entire node by deleting a folder. So that happened a couple times. But at least with Go, it's a lot like there's way less performance issues. I think the biggest one that we had to solve was just like how do you like loop through a directory with millions of files in it and calculate that directory size. I'm not great at that low level stuff, so that was like definitely a big challenge. And I worked with another guy, Matthew, and we spent days just like digging into this and being like, well, I guess that's optimized enough. We'll just increase that timeout so that it's less likely to happen.
Which one of the games that you support is the worst for that?
Minecraft. For
really?
sure.
Minecraft.
Yeah, it's usually the world folder, not the world folder, but like if they run Dynmap and there's just like millions of little like ping images that are just like in these super nested directories. And just like I've never figured out how to calculate a directory size easily, and that's not something you can really Google because everyone's like, oh yeah, just like do this and it works. But that works with 100 files, not with like 100,000 or like 10 million.
Oh my god.
Am I any louder now? I wonder.
Yes.
You are a bit louder, yeah. Hopefully that'll be enough.
Cool.
The question in chat, when will you guys make it in Node.js? I think you missed those times.
It is in Node.js. You can go download that broken code.
So you said that you made that in the background and like spend some time to like roll it out all in one. So did you ever have a point where you were, I guess, like moving between those two versions and having to maintain both simultaneously? Was it very much like a binary either or situation?
It was pretty binary. When I started on the Go one, I was like, I'm done. Like I can't.
Right.
I just like can't hold the mental capacity to like keep track of how the Node.js one works. And it had its own like a lot of the issues with that were fundamental like design decisions that were just like really painful. There was a lot of like trying to keep things in sync between the daemon and the panel was like really messy and just like poorly done. For example, like we fixed that in the new Go daemon by just being like, okay, when you start a server, it's already got a connection to the panel. Like there's no reason we can't just make that API call, get the updated information, and continue on our merry way. So it's kind of that realization that like realistically for the software to work, it has to be able to communicate back and forth between every node and the panel. And if it can't, there's bigger problems at play that are like not worth us spending time to try and like prevent. And so just making that one decision as to like it's not worth the pain of like being able to work in offline mode saved just countless developer hours. And it's a lot easier to debug the code. It's like server starts, makes an API call, updated, continue.
Nice.
So
cool. I feel like we've got enough questions coming in chat from your community that we could probably just solely
my
make.
chat's scrolling.
It's like we could probably just solely make, because they will come for your Discord, which is I imagine a place where they can ask all these questions. They've been saving them up for you to be live.
Yeah, so because they can ask them, but I don't read them.
Here's a few answers for you. The app's gonna get updated at some point soon. It's being worked on.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, we're working on 1.0. It's gonna have some cool features.
Someone was we've had the question about mounts a couple of times. When a mount's going to be official?
They are. We just forgot to change the joke text to not say soon TM.
That's just a joke. They're there.
Yeah. If anything, we just need to document that like you can't mount into the server directory itself because Docker doesn't like that. Like you can't have a mount inside of another mount, which a lot of people are trying to do. It just doesn't work. When will the host shave? Sorry, I realized he was talking about you.
So
that took me a second.
My brain just stalled because the host is like also like a perfectly feasible
that
word
really
to come up
hard.
in. Never, you can fight me. So that's that. Thank you for the subs, Bobby Poke Gaming.
I've never seen the chat move so fast as when we all realized.
Yeah, that's not the first time that's happened on the stream. I had someone come in the stream once who asked in German something in the chat, and my partner who speaks German was with me, and it turns out they asked, "Is his beard real?" And I was just staring at the screen, being like, "I don't know what this says," and then she just pulled on my beard. She's like, "Oh god." Okay. So that was a good bit of question answering. We'll come around and do some more question answering in a bit. For now, I believe, Anand, you wanted to get into a common set of questions about installing Pterodactyl and getting it set up. Do you want to jump into that?
I can do that, sure.
Cool. Let me know when that screen is ready to host.
This is classic. Someone's already asking in chat when's 2.0 coming out.
I like the person saying the documentation needs to be updated badly. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's see what
all right, so
project doesn't need their
let's take a look.
Badly.
So let's take a look at the documentation.
Is the screen ready to put up or not?
As soon as I move this window out of the way. Yes, go
Beautiful.
for it.
Wonderful. Okay, full screen.
All right. So, are the docs in the chat? Are the docs like big enough to kind of read?
Yeah, I can read them. Chat. If anyone needs us to zoom in, just let us know. Zed's in chat. Okay, hang on. Someone says they're using Zoom. We are not using Zoom. Anand is using Zoom between his two computers. Do not drag us into his hacks.
Sorry. This. I think I forgot to click on this thing to make it go away.
Yeah, they also make Zoom full screen.
There we go. Yes.
We all know your secret.
Yeah.
I've talked about it before.
Cole Cornell, we're using StreamYard for the stream, and how this is all running is in a web app called StreamYard. And then Anand is currently using Zoom to screen share between his PCs. So that's why you're seeing Zoom. The software itself is StreamYard.
Basically, my headset and camera are connected to a different computer, and I'm using a Mac for this, so I'm like doing a Zoom screen share between my Mac and my PC, and then sharing that into the StreamYard.
Really good metaphor for how the software is built.
We need to fundraise to buy you a capture card. You need to get you like an Elgato link or something.
I mean, tell me a better solution for screen sharing over my network, and I'll give it a try sometime. But Zoom works great for me.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yes, I will do a live install.
Great.
We are about to get started. So, basically, this question gets asked in our Discord all the time. How do I install it? Why are your docs terrible? Your docs don't tell me how to install it. Blah, 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 right? So, let's see if we can get Pterodactyl installed just by following the docs. So, I'm starting on the Get Started page here. I suggest everyone read the docs. I'm not going to read them all for obvious reasons, but we're just going to skip through here. So we're going to start at the first set of commands. So this is on just a Ubuntu server. I got two servers set up here, one for the panel and one for the daemon. So yeah, we can just get started copying and pasting some commands here.
One of NH Carrigan being a hero, using their internet money to highlight the message. If the docs aren't clear, submit a PR.
Thank you. That is 100% what you should do.
As long as it's good, correct PR.
That's the best use of Twitch points I've ever seen.
So people say why don't we have a public installer? The public installer is the docs. I'm just literally copying and pasting right now.
Yeah, there's definitely some third-party ones that I cannot officially endorse because I haven't used them, but if you're really lazy, there are things that work. It's just that's a good example of letting the community do something.
Right.
Kind of solves its own problems.
Yeah, and it's nice to leave Sorry, go on.
You can finish real quick.
I was gonna say, it's nice to leave these like areas of like agency for the community to stand up and take ownership of something. Like, hey, if you maintain the official install script, that's super cool, and it's not like all of the things you need are right here on this page. You just have to whack them together for someone, right?
Yeah, like we've done that with our like API documentation. That's like notoriously tedious to like maintain, and we have one of our like moderators who runs the host. Like he maintains the API documentation. We've got it linked. Like people ask why we don't make it like official, and I'm like, well, it's about as official as it can be without it just being under our domain.
It's up here now, so up on this API link right here.
And it's like they're the ones using it all the time, so they're more likely to keep it in check than I am. So
yeah. And so it's almost done. And I mean, just like the other thing is you have to be able to read if you're installing Pterodactyl. It sounds obvious, but sometimes maybe it's not. Like for example, this command right here. Like there's a comment here that says, "Don't run this unless you're on 1804." So don't run it. So we're just gonna keep going. Copy and paste this command here. And so, I mean, the docs don't really tell you. I don't know if it actually says or not. I mean, so I'm installing this as root. Since this is probably going to get like saved and people are going to follow it, you technically shouldn't install this as root. You should make a user for the panel and install it as that user. But for simplicity's sake, we're going to do it as root. But that's not the best way to do it.
There's a right way and a documented way.
Particularly poor way if you've got games like Gary's Mod and such.
Okay, so basically at this point, I've copied and pasted all the way up to this installation section. And now, like, we've got PHP installed, we've got most of what we need installed, Composer, we've got the panel files downloaded. So now what we need to do is go ahead and create a database. So
that's probably the step that everyone misses.
Yeah, so there's a link right here, setting up MySQL. So we're going to go ahead and pull that up. And let's go ahead and do some more copy and paste.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna leave the password as some password, but that should be changed normally. Let's see. Okay, cool. So database is now set up. Easy. Then we can go ahead and do this. Do this.
Forget how many dependencies there are. I don't have to run this very often.
It's not too bad.
That's not as bad.
Speed run installing the panel.
Yeah, if I was this is literally a fresh server. If I'd installed it before, this would have been faster because it would have been cached. But this is 100% fresh. Like we're all like not. There's like nothing done before. Literally just the docs. I mean, yeah, we can literally take this video and put it.
I'll send you the recording afterwards. We'll get it cut up for you.
My favorite part of this is going to be us sitting on the side,
just watching me and Dane having the best time, just kicking back, watching dependencies install.
Okay,
I'm just waiting to see what I messed up in the docs.
Yeah, right. So now we can run this like some of our installer sort of stuff. So now you can set your email. I'm just gonna leave it unknown. This is the URL. So the only thing that I did beforehand was I did set up 2 DNS records, 2 A records, because I didn't want to wait for them to have to propagate while we were on stream. So I set up one, which was, let's see, it is panel.test.terohub.com. Just a little bit of early advertising for a new website we're working on.
Casual.
Oh.
And by we, he means not me.
Yeah, me and Shadow in the chat. We're working on. We can talk about that later, what it will be. And then your time zone. And what's cool about the time zone, if people didn't know, is once you start typing, it will start suggesting time zones for you. So that's where I am. Then we'll go ahead and pick. I can't remember. I think it tells you to install Redis, right?
I'm pretty sure it's in that copy paste.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. Yep. So we'll go ahead and switch this to Redis for our cache driver since it's installed. Then we'll go ahead and use Redis for our session driver as well. And we'll use Redis for our queue driver too. And then we have a UI settings editor. We can leave that on. why not? If you don't know, you can just hit enter. Whatever's in the brackets are the default. So since I want that to be yes, I can just hit enter. Redis host, that's just localhost, no password default. And there we go.
That's probably another step people mess up a lot, is just putting a random password in for the Redis password. I'm not really sure what password they're putting in, but it's almost usually, so if you put in a password and it's not configured to use a password, you'll get a like really somewhat confusing if you've not seen it before, like auth provided when no auth required error or something, and that's just because you gave it a password.
Yeah. Then database host is just, we'll just use localhost for 127.3306, and then we should see what we set it to. So we use the database panel, and we use database username pterodactyl. It's kind of crazy how this all lines up when you just copy and paste from the docs. And then
that's some serious shade you're throwing there.
Copy and paste our password in. And then, so you can set up your mail server so you can set it up to send mail. I'm not going to do it. Well, I guess I can just set up to use the PHP mailer. But
yeah, it'll probably just go to your spam.
Yeah, so, we can just use mail. This is like totally, you should definitely use like an SMTP server or like one of the other ones like Mailgun or Postmark, but this is just so that it is
all of those options have a free plan too.
Yes,
pretty sure.
They do. Yeah. And then we just run this migrate command now. And then, it says, do you really want to run it? So, yeah, we do. Go ahead and run this. Cool. That is all set. Now we can go ahead and create a user. So we want to be an admin. And we're going to be like, I don't know, test@test.com. My username can be test.
I'd recommend,
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, no, I was going to.
That's good.
Don't say what the password is, because everybody will sign in as you.
To your unsecured root server.
Hopefully I remember it. Cool. So now we got a user in the panel. That's all set. We can go ahead and like set some permissions if we want to. So the
you should
has
do
the
this.
Please do that. Then we can set up our queue listener and our cron job. So we'll do cron tab E. I'll use nano because why not? That way I don't get questions in Discord on how do I quit Vim.
Just hit a bunch of keys until it exits.
Once again, like setting up the cron tab, literally copy and paste. Just copy and paste that one line into the bottom of this file. Done. Now we can go ahead and create our queue worker. So like, just we can use nano again.
This is the thing that runs in the background and like lets the panel offload a bunch of slower tasks into like background workers.
Sending email, for example, is done through the queue. So
sending emails, scheduled tasks,
Copy and paste.
This is usually why people's scheduled tasks don't work, is the queue worker's not running, or it's like it didn't start correctly, and so things just sit in the queue and don't work.
Just reboot the system.
Then we'll make sure Redis is running like the command says to do. And then we'll enable the queue worker. And hopefully it's running. Cool. So that's basically all set up now. So we've got Pterodactyl like installed, but now we need to set up the web server. We haven't done that yet. So that's in the second section here. I prefer Nginx, so I'll go ahead and use the Nginx setup. So it says, I want to do SSL because why not? Let's secure it. So you can follow the SSL certificates page here if you want to get that set up. So we'll just jump over to that page and we'll go ahead and install certbot.
Nice. God, that makes me so happy.
Control C, Control C, Control C, Control C, Control C. You're forgetting the Control V.
Let's see.
Oh my god, I think this is the first time I've ever actually even seen the hype train feature activate in Twitch.
There's a hype train?
There is. I've never seen it.
I don't even see how many people are in here.
233. It is recorded.
Oh my
God.
I thought they would have left by now.
I'm very grateful they're here. Yes, it's being recorded. We'll make sure the recording will go on our YouTube channel with us being idiots. We'll cut out, but then I'll also make sure that Dane and Anand get a recording as well, so they can cut up Anand's epic speed run for your help channel.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cut some of these install points.
Yeah, we can cut it up so it's faster. But yeah, so then now I'm just running these commands, right? Just read the command before you paste it. Like, for example, don't just copy and paste this. Like, put your domain in first.
Shadow Lancer is a hero. Just gotta say, he's turned this into. He's been answering almost every question that's flown by.
That's what he's here for.
Someone asked me about my headphones. These are the SteelSeries Arctic 7s XPH11. The wireless.
Oh yeah,
wireless
sorry.
version.
So let's say I think I picked the wrong option here. Let's do it again. Yeah. So basically, if you don't want to do the Nginx integration, which this one doesn't let you do, it tells you to stop it up here. There's no command for that, but I mean, you can do system ctl stop Nginx. We should update this though, so that it has the way to do it integrated with Nginx. I feel like that'd be a good thing to
I
update.
just haven't installed the panel in 2 years, so I just have my dev box, and I'll be screwed the day that thing breaks.
Just making a mental note before I forget. We should talk about backups when you get to the end of this, because there's been a couple of questions about backups.
Okay, yeah, we can talk about backups.
Great.
Sure. So
And
now
by
me. So now we got an SL certificate. Let's start Nginx again, and then now that we did that, we can just grab our config here.
They're already trying to access your site.
Nice.
Which is not going to work because there's no web server running.
It's it should just be the standard
people are getting folks. If you want to post links, for those who are new to the chat, you can post links. You'll get timed out. If you want to post links at Raise Devs, and let me know you want to post a link and what you're trying to post, and I'll permit you to post the link.
That's a terrifying comment
it's
I just read.
Probably for the best that people can't post links.
Yeah. Hence why we have the bot.
Yes.
Yep. That's why we have a mod bot on Discord.
Yeah. If you want to post links, send them to Shadow Lancer on your Discord, and he can post them for you.
There you go. Oh god. Good luck,
Rip his PMs. You are an evil, evil man.
Well, you get VIP. You've got to work for it.
I hope he knows how to disable those.
I feel like I don't want to tell people how to make a symlink, so we're just going to put it in sites enabled.
That's what I do. But that's also because I can never remember which order the symlink goes in. It's from 2, by the way.
So now we can go ahead and just replace domain with our domain.
And if you go back to the documentation, all of those lines are highlighted as well. So if you don't know how to do the black magic that he just did,
right here,
you can also just look.
These are the 4 lines you have to change.
That was Control W, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It says down at the bottom, guys.
Control W in Nano is to search, and then Control R is to replace, and then you can type in what you want to search for, and then what you want to replace it with. Cool. What else does it say to do? Oh, we do have the symlink here. Okay. Well, pretend like we did it the right way. And then we'll restart Nginx.
Whole speedrun's toast. You failed. Got to do it all over again.
Oh, well, someone did say earlier that if this installation doesn't work, Anand has to put his shoe on his head. So
put my shoe on my head.
It was a very
that's
message.
Probably one of the less terrible things that they could have asked for. So.
And let's see. Look at that.
I'm actually a little bit shocked at that.
Easy.
Not to say I didn't have faith in you.
Now, here's the question. Do I remember the password that I typed in? That's the real. There we go.
Yes.
Look at that.
Nice.
We got it. Pterodactyl's installed. Now,
awesome.
If you click the gears at the top, that's how you see the admin panel here.
Cool.
And this is where we can go to now set up the second
And this
part.
is where React ended very rapidly.
So this is still kind of colors are changed, but it's still the older sort
Yeah,
of
this is some
design.
2017 Blade files.
So whilst we're talking about React ending, is it safe to upgrade a production environment panel to 1.0 from 0.7 without losing data?
Yeah, make a backup and read the docs. As snarky as that sounds, that's generally like, there's actually not been too many bugs. I mean, well, that's a lie. There's been a lot of bugs, but they're not usually like major impacting bugs. They're usually like a lot of like little UI issues, or like this is just confusingly set up, or like this API endpoint doesn't quite work how I think it should. So
yeah. So now we have our second server that I'm running this on. This is a totally different server. We do not recommend doing this on the same server. It's a bad idea. Don't do it.
You can do it, but
you can do it, but
if you're running it for like other people, you really shouldn't. You want some separation of your infrastructure.
We will install Docker. So we just use the one-line Docker installer.
Yeah. The fact that it installed the beta channel for a long time was probably one of the more annoying things I've ever seen. Also, wow, that's really slow.
I know, right?
There's a lot of... I like that they just pipe it into dev null so that you can't see what you're installing.
I know, right?
Like,
don't worry.
Not only are you just running an arbitrary script off the internet, but we're not going to tell you what you're installing.
Cool. So now we'll enable Docker. You can follow these directions, enable swap and all that. I'm not going to do it because it's just going to take time and I have to reboot the server, but you should enable swap normally. Then we can go ahead and copy and paste these commands here. And then now we're on the step where we basically like configure the daemon to talk to our panel. So before I do that, what I want to do is I want to set up another SSL certificate so that the daemon has SSL as well. So we can go back to this guide. Let's just install certbot.
I'm being told this might fail on you.
What's going to fail on me?
There might be a Docker API mismatch that we haven't released the fix for, but that's an easy fix anyways.
We will find out.
Yep.
So I look like I'm not paying attention, but I'm just reading the chat. I was going to answer a question.
I'm surprised you're able to read it.
There was a question for us, and Shadowlance actually answered it. He's now answering questions from Rays. He's like so far beyond.
Okay, cool. So we got an SSL certificate. That's all set now. Easy. Now what we can do is we can go ahead and try to set up. We can use. Does the link command still work? Does the
one on the nodes? Yeah. The auto deploy?
Yeah,
it works.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So to set up a node. Oh boy. What happened here?
Oh no!
Someone's probably trying to DDoS our server. I bet that's probably what's happening. So.
Yeah, I think FPM just died. Is it that guy that DDoSed the pterodactyl site?
Yeah. Someone's totally DDoSing this right now.
So are you actually getting DDoS?
100%, yeah. Because SSH isn't responding anymore. So thanks, guys. That's cool.
Incredible.
So funny.
Well, the next steps were pretty straightforward, anyways.
Well, I mean, guess we can't finish the install because some people like to have too much fun, I guess.
Do you want to talk about backups whilst that happens?
Yeah.
Wait, what instance are you running this on?
It's like a 2 gig.
Is it a Volter?
It's a DigitalOcean.
You just turn on DDoS for a second.
Turn on DDoS?
Well, they have protection.
DDoSed.
Well, don't they have DDoS protection?
I don't think so. It's not an option to turn on.
Yeah, so someone DDoSed the pterodactyl site one night, and I got woken up at like 1 in the morning by Anand that was like, "Hey, just FYI, everything is offline," and it was really just some like really terrible botnet that had just like found the site and like was DDoSing through the domain name instead of like the direct IP. So all I had to do was like one checkbox.
The IP and
yeah, well, changing the IP was its own nightmare. But yeah, so backups.
Okay, it looks like it stopped. Let's see if this works now.
Thanks, chat, for enabling the demo.
Okay,
it's very generous of you to have stopped DDoSing us.
It looks like whoever DDoSed it just only paid for like the 1 minute DDoS account or whatever, so we're back up.
Honestly, it was
cool.
probably just 200 people all refreshing the.
Let's see. Maybe they'll start it back up.
I'm gonna guess it's running again.
Yeah, I can. Let's see. Can we type here? Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
you might need to
broken,
restart
broken
PHP.
pipe is definitely not.
So I need to add some new instructions to our guest guide that if you're going to invite your 4,000 person Discord server, you need to be DDoS ready.
It's like a 10,000 person Discord.
Yeah, it's having trouble again. I mean, I wouldn't say
Shadow is
streaming was a
telling me
bad
that
idea.
Shadow is telling me this host name is Vulture instead of whatever I just called it, and I'm a little offended.
I think you said Volta.
Yeah.
Volter, nice.
There's no.
Oh, that was meant to be Vulture.
It's VULTR. How am I supposed to pronounce that?
I've never thought about it, but now I'm very conscious about how I pronounce it.
I'm not going to say he's wrong, but I'm not going to say he's right. You were asking about backups while we're being.
Yes, we were talking about backups. Yes, it came up in chat a bunch.
What specifically?
They were asking how to set up backups because apparently it's not very well documented.
Well, so 90% of the trouble is that there's a little error message that I kind of wish we could show you right now, but not going to show up. It just says backups are not enabled for this server. That's because every server defaults to no backups allowed. That seems like a safer migration option than just enabling an arbitrary number of backups. So usually you just have to go in, and any existing servers, you're going to have to go and modify that server in the admin area, and all you have to do is set up some backups on it. And they're part of the problem, I think, is backups are a new addition, and I just kind of that was one of those let's check this box off and close issue 100 something. It was from way long ago. So I just kind of dropped them in. They're very simplistic. It's mostly you can back up to the host or you can back up to an S3. And, oh my god!
Pull that up.
And your face when you pulled that screenshot into view.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, just for everyone here, I don't care. All you did was made it so people can't learn how to install Pterodactyl. That's all you accomplished. This was just an empty VM. So, congrats.
But yeah, the backups are relatively simple. It's just kind of back up your files. You can ignore some files. That's about it. So usually I think people just think they can do way more than they actually can. There's been a lot of feature requests from restore from backup, overwrite old backups, put them on S3 compatible instances, and those are all definitely things I want to get to, but I just haven't yet. I felt step one was just okay, let's check the box that you can even take a backup from the panel, and then okay, let's see how are 95% of users going to use this backups. Are we just overly complicating this for things, which kind of just gets into a whole nother part of open source, I feel which is there's a lot of very vocal users that are you need to build this way, you're doing this wrong, this is this was really poorly implemented. And my approach to that's usually I'm building for the 95%, the 99% of users, not the 1% or the big host that needs a very specific thing. Because generally, especially with software like this, I feel it's very different than a lot of it's its own different type of open source, I feel right? Open source SaaS products are very different than open source single user type of products. So there's a lot of big hosting companies or just companies in general that aren't even big, but are kind of oh yeah, you should build this for me so that I can do this with my host. And it's one of those yeah, where I'm that would be a great thing if you want to PR that, but realistically, this is I have a full-time job outside of this, and the last thing I want to do is drop 8 hours a night into this software just so that you have this feature. And it's one of those things where it's after we opened up sponsorships and we've got a couple hosts sponsoring now, there's definitely a lot more motivation to okay, people actually care enough about this to contribute back to the product. Whether or not they can contribute code, but they can definitely contribite some monetary value that's let's be real, making money off something that's free is a great motivator to keep working on it rather than I'll just put some side time.
So I guess that's something that I was curious on actually, that John, our founder, was asking about as well. But you yourself don't use Pterodactyl, the host game, to run a game server hosting company, right? You're just developing this because your own interest. Okay.
Yeah.
I use
I've
it
never
for,
actually
our
run a
gaming
company.
community.
Like, it's just all a
Sorry.
side project.
Sorry, Anand, what was that?
I have a gaming community that me and my friends are
Right.
in,
But you're
and
not
we have,
like out there
like
hosting
100
servers
people
for
or
people who will
something,
pay you
but-
money, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just for
Yeah.
our friends. We don't
Yeah.
charge for it.
Yeah,
Cool.
and we definitely have like a couple people on our moderation team that run companies, and like that's been very beneficial just to like make
Yeah.
sure like they're going to be heard. Like we've got
Yeah.
a supporters channel, we've got like private channels for these hosts that are donating,
Right.
and I feel like those have just been good for like. There's not
Okay,
even like that many.
maybe we can get this before
Okay,
someone
cool.
decides to do it again. So
You just have to
you gotta-
copy one command.
right, you got to add a location real quick. That's the first thing you have to do. So you add a location, which tells like Pterodactyl, because you can set up more than one node that hosts your servers. So we set up a location. Then we go to add a node, give it a name, a description, pick the location. Public and private is just for like auto deploying. Basically, it doesn't mean like anyone can use your node. Set up the domain. We have SSL configured, so we'll pick use SSL. It's not behind a proxy. Leave that. I don't remember how much memory this has.
Just put like 1024.
8,000 should be fine.
Wait, what is an egg?
Oh, we can get into that in a minute.
Cool.
50 gigs or something, whatever. You should put in actually what your server has, but that's good enough. Go ahead and create the node. Then we
Add
can
an
go. You
allocation.
can go to configuration here, and you can like grab your config here. The other thing you can do that a lot of people don't know about is you can generate this token instead. And what it will do is it will give you this command to run on your server. And then all you have to do is just paste this into your server, and you'll see it says successfully configured wings. And that basically like downloaded the config file and like connected it to your panel and did all of that in one line. So now all we have to do
that just creates a read-only API key for the node information. So
yeah. And then
I was just saying in chat that I'm a sucker for a cute naming scheme, which is why I got excited about eggs, and now you've just introduced me to wings, and now I'm like,
wings was not my naming
recommend...
idea, but props to Shrej for coming up with that.
Docs recommend starting wings like with this debug mode first.
Okay.
Because basically the first time you run wings, it tries to connect to Docker. It'll create like a network interface for the servers and like do a few things, download like a couple of dependencies, stuff like that. So if you run it in debug mode, first time you can like look at this log right here and make sure it looks like everything's good. So like it was created that interface on Docker here and set up like the web server and all that stuff. And so it looks like it's running fine. So I'll go ahead and kill it. If you don't know how to kill it, it's Control-C. And then we can go ahead and set up this daemon. So we'll do this. And then paste this in here. And then we can go ahead and run wings. And we'll give it a second to start up. And then once you start it up, if you go to your nodes here, if it's all working, you should see this green heart along with the version number, which means that it's all set.
There was a request to run it in the foreground so that people can see it like actually working.
I can do that, sure. So there it is running now. And then if we want to create like a server real quick to show you how that works, we can go create a server, do like test. Oh, sorry, that's what Dan was saying. We have to add an allocation first. So allocation is basically how you link like an IP and a port to like a Docker container in Pterodactyl. So we have to add basically what like ports we want to allow game servers to use. So this is the IP of the daemon, and then for the rip right. And I
should just stop reading the chat.
Yeah, that wasn't you, Anand. That was
okay.
That was a particularly good comment, which I'm just gonna save.
Yeah, that's going in the.
Oh, okay. There's a better one that someone posted in our Discord a few earlier. I don't know if you saw it yet, Dane, but you should check it out.
I'm good.
So I added the allocation here, so now we can set up a server.
Oh Jesus! I just saw the other comment.
Yep, that was a good one, right? Yeah, yep, it's starting. Just in case anyone was curious, here we go.
Yeah, there's a couple other issues that I don't feel like I should say on this stream at the moment. But
so yeah, we can set it, pick the allocation. You can set limits for how many resources it can use. We can give it like a certain amount of RAM or whatever. So was it like 4 gigs or something? 4 gigs or whatever. And then you can pick here. So nest is like we have different nests for like Minecraft or whatever. And there's a lot of
that's
other
also
eggs.
very good.
Yeah. So there's nests. The eggs go in the nest, and the nest gets transferred to wings.
So a nest is
a nest is just a category.
Okay, cool. Okay.
And an egg is just a game-specific like configuration. So there's like a like Minecraft egg, which just installs vanilla Minecraft.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. It's just a creative name to name categories.
It's so good.
Yeah. And so
it also kind of helps in the code. But
we can pick Minecraft and just do like vanilla Minecraft or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the Docker image it'll run, which we create some Docker images that are like built to kind of run these different game servers. You can customize it if you want or build your own. And then the eggs actually have like configuration variables that you can create, and anyone can create their own eggs. So people always ask like, oh, how do I make this game server work? Well, you can just create an egg.
Okay.
And they're just simple. You can do it like in Pterodactyl even. And so here's like the startup command it'll run, which is that Java command, and then, the latest version of Minecraft, whatever. So we'll go ahead and create it. And then what it will do is now you can see the daemon is like, go ahead and installing this. So you can see it's like downloading Minecraft and whatever, all that kind of stuff. So we can actually open up the server and view it now here.
I think that's just Docker stuff running at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was another highly requested feature, was just being able to see install progress. So it just
you used to just see a screen that said like,
honestly,
it's installing, like come back later, and now you can actually see it install.
Yeah. My mind is blown. So we were talking about before the stream that like part of how I got into programming was through like running game servers, and like this is so far and away what I remember having to manage. Like,
the whole like WebSocket thing is like its own next level of like complicated programming. I feel like the internet really likes to lie. Like there's so many Medium articles that are like how to set up a WebSocket with like 3 easy commands, and it's like, well, yeah, but what about the rest of it? It's kind of like how to draw an owl. Step 1, circle. Step 2, another. And step 3, finish the owl. And it's like, okay, how do you handle like real-time authentication? How do you handle revoking authentication? Like, how do you handle like 3 tabs open and like not overblowing resources?
Bagsy is telling me to tell people all about the lovely eggs Parker VCP made on his GitHub. I don't know anything about that. I'm assuming one of you do.
Yeah, so
Parker is our egg lord.
Egg lord.
Or mother of eggs. He's gonna hate me for that
one. This failed because it couldn't download something from Alpine.
I'm guessing it's because your server's being just pounded right now.
Yeah, that might have something. It's just still, it's going hard. But
you can just restart
if this happens, we can try and you can basically try and just reinstall it.
Yeah, that's another thing I'm working on, is just like, instead of having to recreate it, just being able to like quickly reinstall. This might not work super well.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
It's also a really old Alpine image. I wouldn't be surprised if something got broken there. I don't think I test with vanilla Minecraft anymore.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so Parker runs like, he has a GitHub repo that's basically just full of all of the non-first party eggs, so to speak.
Right.
I mean, they're like fairly first party because he's part of the project team and like maintains them all. But like he takes requests for creating them. You can he has like a sponsorship thing to like get like custom in-house eggs that he maintains just for you, or like you pay him and he'll make the egg. Yeah. So awesome. Like we actually support like a ton of games in addition to the ones.
And a lot of people don't know, like, but he has them organized by folders. So like inside of Minecraft, it's not just Minecraft, but there's actually like different ones. And then inside of these, like, there's even more. So you have like FTB Forge, like Magma Paper, like all these different ones. So people are like, oh, do you support, I don't know, Technic? And they like, I don't see it in the root folder, but it's actually here. You just got to look for it.
Yeah. And like these are also a good starting point for like making your own custom one, right? Like
Yeah.
you know you've got one that like will create the server for you, and now you can.
Right.
It's another great example of like open source giving you that ability to like really
Yeah,
tinker with
sure.
like learning how to program. Like, okay, here's a Docker image that does everything I need, but I wanted to do one more thing. I can start with that instead of having to start with like how to Docker.
Yeah.
Which is like
It
really hard.
I want to have a quick park around in there, then poke around in there.
And that's probably one of the easier repos to get started with us. Like,
so I see for eggs you use Lua. That's like the config language, or
they're actually just JSON files.
They're just JSON files.
We're converting them to YAML for like easy reading, but
so basically, like in Pterodactyl, when you go to the nest and you go to like this Minecraft egg that I'm running right now, you'll see that it's just like a bunch of different configurations. So you can do this inside of Pterodactyl. Like, so it's got, just the name, the image, like what the command is, different configuration files that Pterodactyl can edit. And then like how does like Pterodactyl looks to see when the server started. So it like wants to know like, okay, what do I look for when the server's actually started? So I can say it's running.
The log stuff isn't actually used.
Go. Yeah, this is
that's deprecated,
there,
but
right?
wasn't removed. Yeah.
If you want to stop it, like if there's a command to run in the server console, like how do you do that?
Yeah. The stop command is also super important for like bungee cord and stuff, where if you type that stop command in game and it sees it or if you send it to the console rather than using the stop button, it won't mark it as crashed. So if you set that up wrong and like send a different stop command, it'll think you crashed the server and restart it.
Bungee cord, sorry?
Kind of like a Minecraft proxy. So everybody enters that server and it's like,
I see. Okay,
I don't use it. I just know it as it's the lightest weight one I can run.
It wasn't a pterodactyl thing. Okay.
Yeah.
And then eggs have variables as well, so you can set like variables that users can change, or like different configuration parameters, and you can change the permissions on them and set like validation and stuff.
Right.
And then you've got the install script. So this is like the big part of the egg, which is where it actually will install the game server. So usually these, like Parker has some crazy like JSON parsing that he does to like find the latest version if you put latest in. So if you want to like figure out how to do that, you can look at some of his. And then, I mean, it basically just figures out like what's the latest version of Minecraft, or if you provide a version number, like it'll use that and then downloads just the Minecraft jar, and then, it's good to go. And so like with our Minecraft server, so basically like I ran it and so it crashed because you have to accept the EULA. So now we can go in here to the file manager that we have, and you can go in here and we can say, okay, we accept it. Save that. So this all can be done through Pterodactyl. So you can edit files, you can edit your Minecraft server like config.
Yeah.
If you
this is one of my like crowning achievements of this software that I think blows it out of the water compared to other like pretty much every other panel I've ever seen uses some like third-party Java-esque like FTP manager disaster.
Yeah.
This is all like native, like it just interacts with native Go APIs. So I built it entirely custom to do exactly what I needed to do. So aside from it being slow because this poor server is just getting like obliterated, right? Like it is like it's basically in real time as if you were like in your terminal editing files. And this also lets us run like a completely custom SFTP server. So every other product out there until like very recently was either FTP or FTPS, and both of those have their own problems. And I just kind of laugh because I'm like, there's no good reason in 2020 any product should ever be running an FTP server. That usually just, to me, screams like, oh, we're not going to put in the effort to build a secure platform. And it also kind of cracks me up when like big bold letters on their site are like, super secure, like best practices. And I'm like, you're literally using like a plain text file upload.
Right. So while this is crashing, this is possibly a stupid question. I've noticed in Parker VCP's eggs, there's just a bunch of Discord bots, which I guess like you don't have to run games on Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl is like it just runs Docker containers. So you can run anything you want in there that can run inside of a Docker container.
It's effectively just an overglorified Docker wrapper.
It has like some like conventions for where things should be stored and stuff that you might have to like work with, but beyond that, like you can run anything. So yeah, Discord bots are a common thing people like to run because you get that whole like control panel with like the file manager and all that stuff, so you can like edit them and do all that. So people like to run Discord bots and stuff like that in Pterodactyl too.
Yeah, cool. I think the meta is running Pterodactyl in Pterodactyl.
We're getting a lot of questions about where the name Pterodactyl came from. It's a cool dinosaur, okay? Get off his back.
I think I was just like, dinosaurs are cool. Pterodactyl. Let's pick something that absolutely nobody can spell and every other country cannot pronounce to save their life. Yeah. But in other news, it's great for SEO because you don't really have to compete with anything other than like children's books.
Right.
So like game panel, there's like a terrible name for things.
Yeah.
Like nah. So but the other thing we have is like a long running list of all of the terrible misspellings of pterodactyl that we've ever come across. And let me tell you, there are some excellent, like some extra E's, some like EY going on. Like
I think it's like that silent P. Yeah, the silent P.
Yeah. Our like our mascot is Terry the pterodactyl. And it's just PTERRY.
Why didn't I wear my pterodactyl shirt?
I couldn't find mine. Yeah, we have custom pterodactyl shirts that are pretty great.
Nice, that's really cool. Yeah.
And I have like 8 bajillion stickers.
I have my fridge has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 magnets on it right now that are pterodactyl.
So this looks like you've been adjusting to the ground again. Do we want to?
Yeah, it's happening
we could
again.
move on to some questions.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, do you want to pivot into contributing?
That was basically the whole installation and kind of how it works.
Cool.
I was gonna show the backups and how to do that, but we can't. So that's fine.
Next time.
Yeah. So I guess.
Contributing. Yeah. Because you do have the Hacktoberfest topic. That's something when someone first joined the server, they were like, "Oh, I thought Terra wasn't doing Hacktoberfest this year." But...
Yeah, we initially weren't, and then once that whole spam disaster was over with, we opened it back up.
Nice, awesome, cool.
I don't know if you have a specific question in terms of
just like where. So the usual ones would be like where if I wanted to contribute to Pterodactyl, where should I get started?
Yeah, so getting started it kind of depends on like where you're like.
Right.
Not so much your expertise, but like your preference lies. So basically the entire product is open source. Everything is totally open source, basically, except for like don't use our logos for not pterodactyl. Right. That's the only reason I get on people's cases. But so like if you're really more into like I just want to like contribute some stuff, like kind of get into the project and be involved, but I don't know how to program. Our documentation is totally open source. That can always use like editing or just I guess adding to. It's kind of iffy because we definitely have some pages that were like we don't want to make modifications to this. It's like some of the especially like those core installation pages, they've existed for like 5 years. We just kind of like have slowly worked through like, okay, we made this change, it didn't work. We're gonna get rid of that because it led to more questions. We're gonna add this to like knock this question off. But we also have like a whole community section of the documentation that's like how to install pterodactyl this version on this version of like this OS. That one's almost even easier to copy and paste because it's been specifically tested for that OS. Whereas our main documentation's like, how do we cover the like 90% of OSs? And like, you'll just have to know to like switch like yum and apt, right? So documentation's a great one if you're just trying to get started with like joining in. If you want to get started with code, there's kind of a couple options. If you're like a front-end person, so like JavaScript, React, TypeScript, that is all in the panel repo, so you can get started there. If you want to get started with PHP, it's also the panel repo. That's just a standard Laravel app. Standard. There's like a little bit of enterprise plus magic going on. Kind of like stripping that out as time goes by because like what seemed like a great idea at the time was actually a terrible idea in retrospect and just kind of created more pain. Like it wasn't worth it. It's like confusing for people that don't understand how that works. Right. So just kind of like keeping that as simple. There's actually working tests now.
In the chat, in case you want to check that out.
That coding?
The new comment.
We got a new Dane comment in the chat here.
Which one?
New Dane comment. Oh, that's very good.
Oh.
Oh dear. Though there is also a question for Dane there. We're going to have a little diversion for questions. What coding languages do you know exactly?
Oh god. So like, I don't know if I would call all the front end stuff programming languages. I just kind of wrap that up as like general front end stuff that you need to know: HTML, CSS. So TypeScript, JavaScript. I feel pretty solid on that. All of that like fun ES6 magic. Backend wise, it's PHP, Go. I guess MySQL would be
Cool.
backend there.
MySQL is a programming language.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen some weird queries that I would count as programming language. But yeah, like I consider my programming stack like relatively small, and that's more of the like, for me especially, it's like really difficult to like get into a new language unless I'm like actively working on a big project. Like I see a lot of like
converting all of the code base into
it's like I see people that are like, yeah, I know Rust, I know C, I know Python. I'm like, but like, do you know them in the sense that like, yeah, I wrote like a hello world in it, or is it like I'm like deeply ingrained with that
I've
stack?
written a project in it.
Yeah, it's because I'm like, I can read Python, I can read like, well,
yeah.
I can't really read Rust. That's a little bit magical to some degree.
That answers the question that just came up, which is
I'm like, there's a lot of programming languages. Like I can read and generally figure out what you're trying to do, but if I was trying to write an app, I would have no idea what's going on. Or like if I'm trying to contribute, like I got nothing. Whereas like I'm very comfortable with PHP, Node.js,
Hey, can
React.
you ban this guy right there that's posting those Discord links real quick?
He's getting auto banned. Don't worry about it.
Okay, yeah, he's the one who DDoSed it. So
and as he's posting them, he's getting auto timed out.
Nice.
But whilst we're talking about,
I put up a firewall, by the way, so I think it actually
great. So there you go, AL7, and sorry, that's a really long Twitch name. A firewall has now been put up.
Rust, we're safe.
Yeah, so there you go. So now we can see the config file here, and we should be able to start it.
Can you use environment variables as input rules for other environment variables? You can do a lot of things. It's whether or not you can figure out how to make it do what you want. I feel like that's a yes. It's probably just like var1 equals eval var2 type of deal.
So another bunch of questions that we had a bunch, and I think actually Shadow Lancer did answer it, but I guess just to do it verbally to calm the questions down.
Yeah.
So there was a EULA pop-up that has been removed, and the answer we saw go past in chat is because you're trying to avoid game-specific features. Is that the current stance and answer to all those questions?
Well, to be honest, I didn't even remember that it existed.
Okay, cool.
It wasn't necessarily removed on purpose. It was just removed by way of when you've been rewriting something for 2 years, you generally just kind of miss a huge set of features, which gets into like its own. That's like its own next level discussion of like when you rewrite something, like you really got to be committed to that. Yeah. My God, is it a lot of work?
Hey, he's still posting, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. I just deleted that.
The demo will be updated when we get around to it. That's a high abuse thing. I will not marry you. Sorry.
Sure. Where did we get them? Dane made them for us. That's where we got them.
Custom ink.
If you want to make a T-shirt, just Google custom T-shirt and
go one of those. And then I guess for contributing too, there's also the whole Wings repo, which is like if you really want to get down and dirty in some like control level software, that's just all Go. It's I consider it relatively well done. I don't like that was how I learned Go. So unfortunately, someone that knows more than me is going to have to come through and be like, this is not the correct way to do this. So if you know Go really well and at least just want to help with like, here's how you can optimize this, or like run some profiles and be like, this is really stupid. Why are you doing it this way? I'm honestly open to it. I would love to learn from someone that like actually knows how to build that at scale. I just kind of built it as best I could to get what I need done.
Yeah. And then I guess there was that stuff we were talking about at the beginning where like lots of people are very keen for there to be an install script and an installer.
Yeah, I've had a couple people ask, and I'm like, if you build a really good one and like show it to me, I will happily eventually add a link to it on the docs. And like that can be a community maintained install script type of deal.
Anand, we've got another potential demo for you if you want to try running this.
Yeah.
Could you show how to create a scheduled task and have it be run? I've been trying to get that to work for months and never received an answer on the Discord.
Yeah, so you just click schedules here and you go create schedule. Give it a name. and you pick how long you want to run it. Like how
this is just a UI on cron at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can use
but
the cron tab
not
guru.
quite.
It's missing like the month, I think.
So once we got, I think it's there, yeah, month. But once you create the schedule, you click on it, and then you can add a task that you want to run in it. So you can send a command, run a backup, create a power action, which is like if you want to restart the server, stop it, whatever. So if you want to like restart your server like every day and like in the morning because of like Minecraft's crazy memory usage, you can do that.
Right.
If you want to send a command like into the console of your server, you can do that here. And so like if I just want to like say restart the Minecraft server like every couple of
5
minutes,
minutes.
we can do that. It takes like 5 minutes to turn on, so no one will ever be able to connect. But and then you can set an offset too. So like if you want to run a series of commands, you can tell it to offset so that they don't all run at the same time.
Right.
And if you've configured all of this and it's not working, it's probably because your queue worker is broken, and you should take a look at that and see if it's running
Or your
if there's
server's
an issue with it.
offline.
That would cause it to not work too. Yes.
Yeah. My goal for the future is definitely making it a little easier to find those errors, because like they'll go into it's like a failed jobs table, and like you don't know to look for that unless you use Laravel extensively, type of deal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You have to have the cron job as well. That has to be set up too.
So yeah, I guess that's a whole topic as well. We are running close to time, but I guess before we lose you, so you've just released this big rework, which I guess was 1.0. Like, what's your next plans?
Apparently 2.0. I guess that's what everyone wants now.
No, I never want to rewrite this again. Like, oh god, that was a choice to rewrite it, and I'm glad I did, but I would never willingly do that again in my life.
Sure.
As an open source project, I totally understand why people just like hit that, like, I am done updating this. I will say I'm really glad like the 0.7 version stabilized quite well. Like it had its own issues, but those were like well known and like just a flaw. Like it otherwise mostly ran fine for like, again, the like 90% of users. Like the big hosts had their own problems, but they generally have an in-house dev team that's working on that. But I think that was the biggest thing, is like, had 0.7 not been stable, I think I probably would have just given up on the project entirely. Like trying to manage a rewrite of this scale and manage like supporting something that's not working, it just wouldn't be possible. So like I totally empathize with all those projects that are like, you know what, like this works, we're happy with it, and we're gonna move on to something else, or like just start a whole new version for like the V2. I see that a lot where it's like, I kind of get that. It's just like hard to, and like luckily the migration for this from 0.7 to 1.0 was pretty straightforward, but like that's been a nightmare in the past when it's like I need to make an architectural change that's gonna, like, you're gonna have to delete all your servers type of deal. Generally in that case, it's just like you have to delete all the Docker containers and it stops all your servers. Like I've never had to touch their files, right? But it's still just like, the more complicated you make that, the more questions you get, no matter how well you document it, because there's always edge cases.
Sure. Cool. So what I'm hearing is taking a break and chilling out.
Yeah, there's been like the poor GitHub issue tracker has just never been below 100 since 1.0. I try, but I think a lot of it's also just like, it's overwhelming to look at that many issues, no matter like how well you try and organize it. But I've gotten a lot better about being like, you know what, like these are bugs, but they're not important. There's not been any critical bugs other than like, there's like a weird migration issue that was just like a lot of people asking questions. I was like, okay, I'll fix that real quick just so that I don't have to deal with it. But at the end of the day, it's like, this always comes off so terrible, but it's like, it's free software. I only have so much time to work on it. And like, I do kind of expect, like, if you're a business running software, generally, I hope that you have like someone that understands it enough to be able to kind of like, you know, this minor thing that's a big deal for us, we can fix in-house and like contribute upstream. And that's what I've been really pushing for, is just like making it easier to contribute upstream, and kind of changing my own attitude towards that to be like, you know what, this PR might not be perfect, but we can merge it in and I'll deal with it later on my own time if it doesn't line up with how I wanted it. But yeah, so.
Cool.
And I don't know if anyone noticed, but it was 2:20 a minute ago, and the server restarted with that schedule we set up. So
nice, awesome, cool.
That shows that it works.
Now I'm gonna have to. I can't remember who asked that. but I hope that answered the question. Oh, here we go. Skeleton 1. I hope that answered your question. Okay, awesome. So yeah, we're coming up on time. Is there anything else you want to show or talk about before we wrap up?
I could show like 2 things real quick. One is if you want to do SFTP, you can go to settings and like you can get the info there on like what the username is and the password and the address. Like that's how you can do SFTP. So if you want to upload like a ton of files or whatever, like you can do that easily there, and that's all built into Wings now.
Cool.
Backups tab is here. We didn't set up backups. We didn't have time because we wasted a bunch of time with people having fun. So, but you can configure backups. Like you can set up like S3 endpoints or whatever.
Yeah.
You can set up like an S3 bucket or stuff like that. And then
the going away words on that is just like, I'm aware that it's missing a lot of functionality, but we're working our way there. It's just like, got to take a couple weeks of break and then come back fresh to like really hit that stuff. So
cool.
Nice. So yeah, you can back up directly to S3.
Cool.
It'll create like a zip file, push it to S3, and you can like you'll be able to see them here once they're created, and then you can download them and all that fun stuff. Another cool feature is the users tab here, so you can create sub-users. So I can add like a user, I put their email in, and choose their permissions, and then they get their own login to the panel, and they can do whatever we said. So like if you run a game server like Minecraft server and you've got like a couple mods or someone and you need them to be able to restart the server, but you don't want them to be able to like change all the files, you can do that here just by saying like, okay, yeah, this person is allowed to like, you know, look at the console, start, stop, restart, but like you don't have to give them access to the file manager or SFTP like that if you don't want to. So it's got like a lot of features that are sort of built for, you know, like kind of enterprise or scaling kind of stuff, hosts, things like that. And it's not just like a website with a console in it. And, that's, you know, it's got a lot more.
It is a usable system for this if you're like, you know, not just hosting a server for your friends, but, you know, are trying to host like a bajillion.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Very cool. Neato. Well, thank you so much for showing something. And thank you for your lovely community hanging out. I think they got a lot of value. We got through a lot of the questions. And I'm sure they'll be swarming back to your Discord after this to ask those questions.
Oh, again. I didn't mention what TerraHub was.
Oh yeah. People keep. I didn't want to push that because I wasn't sure if that was like genuinely secret.
No, so basically, me and Shadow are working on this thing called TerraHub, and basically TerraHub will be a place where like all the eggs will be on TerraHub that are both made by like Parker and community supported eggs, so anyone can basically like post their stuff there. And then we're gonna build it so that you can actually just download those straight into the panel and like get updates for them in the panel as well. And then we're working on like seeing if we can do themes and like different like mods and stuff to the panel, but that's to be determined.
We have to work
we have to work out how to get that to work. But basically it's gonna be like a marketplace for like pterodactyl mods essentially.
That's awesome.
With like support in the panel directly, so we'll have like a tab there that you can install, and then basically like just everything that you have access to you can just download there, and we'll allow both paid and free ones as well. So if people want to create like paid themes or mods or things, they can sell them on TerraHub directly. And then that'll also power some of the features in the app as well that will be that require like sort of cloud services like push notifications in the app for if your servers crash or things like that will be powered by TerraHub as well.
Very cool. That's super neat.
Yeah.
And when do you have a ETA?
There is not a hard ETA right now. Me and Lance Lance is Shadow. Me and Shadow are working on it like whenever we have time, but I'd say, I mean, it's at least like I'd say a month before we have it in a state where it could be like fully usable, but maybe a beta sooner than that.
Yeah, cool. Just take a brief detour because we have just been asked this in chat because some of your community may not be aware. We've been talking about Hacktoberfest. Hacktoberfest is a thing done by DigitalOcean in the month of October where they encourage people to contribute to open source, which is why we're doing this channel 3 times a day in October, talking to other people like the Pterodactyl project and talking about open source and helping people get into it. So if you didn't have a clue what Hacktoberfest was and you just showed up for Pterodactyl, congratulations. It's a good time to get into open source. There you go, Bagsy. Hope that answered your question. Yes, we're streaming 3 times a day, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. Cool. Rad. Right. Well, thank you both so much. Let me drop the screen share. This has been super fun. And thank you to wonderful Discord server, which I've now joined because y'all seem like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There's definitely questions we didn't get to because of the DDoS. But I'm sure people will be able to
I can set up another stream at some point to answer those questions for people.
Yeah, absolutely. You would also be welcome here back anytime you want, but it seems like you should set up a pterodactyl stream. The website, which I spelled perfectly.
You spelt it right. Like I heard you type it out perfect the first time.
You can find the Discord on there as well, which I just joined. It's in the footer and probably somewhere else at the top as well.
Also, we're verified, so it's just discord.gg/pterodactyl.
Fancy. So yeah, thank you both for coming along. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And for those of you in chat, stick around. I'll run you through the schedule for the rest of the week and what we've got going on. So thank you both so much for being here, and we'll speak to you soon.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you so much again to Anand and Dane and all of the pterodactyl community. This has been awesome. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for running through that speed install and for putting up with the DDoSing and all that cool stuff. That was super awesome. For those of you who are new to this channel, as I said, we are here 3 times a day for the rest of October, talking to more people like Dane and Anand around some really cool projects, people with different types of developer careers who came into development from career changes, from open source, from all kinds of things. We have a full schedule for the rest of October, which you can read on our Twitch page at twitch.tv/RaisedDevs schedule. That's the schedule for us this week. If you want to get notified when we go live, as I said, we do go live 3 times a day. If you want those notifications, you can follow us, press the love heart, press the bell, and you'll get notifications whenever we go live. You can also tune it. You can also follow our Twitter at RaisedDevs, where we tweet before the hour, before every show. In terms of what we've got coming the rest of the week, let me run you through our schedule as a little bit of a teaser. So tomorrow, we've got Erica Heidi, technical writer at DigitalOcean. So DigitalOcean is the company that lovely server that was DDoSed is hosted on and is also the company behind Hacktoberfest. So talking to Erica tomorrow. We have Jason from GitHub, Jason Etkovich, who's an awesome developer who does a lot of writing bots and automations for GitHub. That's going to be a really cool show. We've got Sarah Guffels from Microsoft, who does a lot in the education space. She's the last one tomorrow. On Wednesday, we've got Matt Cowley himself. I'm sorry, Matt, I'm doing this to you again. Matt Cowley is the community manager at DigitalOcean, who also does a lot of work on the DigitalOcean app and has done a lot to help deal with the spam problem, this kind of thing. We're going to be talking about his DigitalOcean adventure this year. Yes, you absolutely can get link access. Bagsy, there you go. So Matt's on Wednesday morning. Then we've got Daniel Ferry from Strappy.js. That's a headless CMS for Node.js. We've got Hugh Rawlinson, who's going to come and talk to us about his process around software releases. We've got Beth Pan from Microsoft on Thursday. We've got Adrian Howard from Courier on Thursday. We've got Jennifer Davis from Microsoft on Thursday. Thursday's a Microsoft day. Friday, Josh Dezilak from Orbit, Stefan Young from Customer.io, and Corey Alexander. So we've got a super packed schedule, which you can... Why did you just get banned again, Bagsy? What happened there? I'm not entirely sure what happened there. Oh, I typed your name wrong. Sorry, Bagsy. Sorry. There we go. There we go. Try that. Try that. Go, Bagsy. Go. Yes, we got that. So if you want to catch those shows, give us a follow. We'll be starting tomorrow at 10:30 p.m. UTC. 10:30 a.m. UTC. Then 2 p.m. UTC, and then back at this time, 8 p.m. UTC. If you have a question that you want to ask for Hacktoberfest, you can join in the chat and ask us at any time, or you can submit your questions to Raise.dev Hacktoberfest. And finally, if you are getting started as a software engineer or a developer and you want help leveling up, Raise.dev will provide you with expert coaches who will help you level up in your career. They'll meet with you regularly, work for your projects, and help you get that next job, get that promotion, change from another career into software engineering, whatever it is. We're completely free during early access. You can sign up at raise.dev. So that's everything from me. I hope I'm going to log off for the night and get ready for our streams tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope to see you again. Thank you all for tuning in. This has been super fun, and I hope we see you at another show in the future. I'll catch you all on the Pterodactyl Discord. Thank you again very much. Good night.